Hello there, this is Daniele from Toolchefs and welcome to this new video. So in this video we're going to have a look at the new variation overrides and variation tree. These are two new features that we've added in Atom 6.0 and we're going to record this video in Maya, but the same workflow because we're just going to use the variation manager applies to Houdini. But for the next video where we're gonna see how we can use the variation tree and the variation overrides in your simulation scenes, then we're gonna have separate videos. So we're gonna have one for Maya and one for Houdini. Also for this video I'm going to start from the Atoms agents, so if you don't have them installed in your machine yet, you can download them from our website and install them. And to start I'm gonna import the Arnold variations. Okay, so if we open now the variation manager, we're gonna see that in the UI now we have two new tabs. So before we had geometry, material, variations, cloud setup and look file. Now we also have overrides and tree. So I'm gonna start with the man. I'm gonna select the man. I'm gonna show you how you can set up overrides and a tree. So with overrides, what you can do is you can add combinations of new geometries that you want to add to your existing variation for your agent, or you can also filter out geometries. So these are these are combinations. These are settings that you store in your variation JSON. You can use like overrides also directly in the scene, so you can use them at runtime without having them here in the variation manager. But like if you want to have predefined overrides, you can do them here, and they're also a bit easier to use. So to give an example, we can add an override. Here you can of course change the name, so we can call it maybe with glasses. And in the combinations tab, you can add new geometry. So we can add entry. We're gonna say I'm gonna use the glasses, and then here we can provide a material. So maybe man glasses blue. So if I save it and I zoom out, you see here we have the glasses. So here in the preview, we're gonna see the geometries that we're gonna add. So you can even have multiple geometries here. It doesn't, you don't just need to have just one. For this case, because just we want to see the glasses, we're gonna have the glasses here. Then also we could maybe add a new override called no glasses. This. I'll go in the filters, and then I'm gonna say glasses, and I'm gonna save. And as you can see here, what happened is that we have the glasses in green. So we don't assign a material, we just show them in green to show you what geometry is gonna be filtered out. So these again, the overrides are pretty simple. You can again, just to sum it up again, you can create new overrides that can filter or add geometry. You can even add and filter geometry in the same override. It's really up to you. For adding geometry, you have to be in the combinations tab. You can provide geometries and the materials inside to those geometries. And then in the filter tabs, you can have a list of geometries that you want to filter. Now let's go to have a look at the tree. But actually, before we check the setup for the man, so the variation tree of the man, we could start by building a variation tree from scratch. We're gonna use the boy, so we're gonna duplicate the boy simply because with the boy we have less geometries. So we will spend less time in trying to find for the geometries in the geometry list. Let me actually clear all the settings that we have here so we can start from scratch. Okay, so here we have some buttons that will let us add items to the variation tree. If I press this button, I will add a new variation type. A new variation type is basically a collection of geometries that define a kind of variation that can be used by Atom to instantiate variation runtime. So under variation geometry type, you can add geometry. So we can say I want the body, I want the hair, jeans, polo, and shoes. And if I go back to the preview, nothing is being shown, and this is because Atoms is not able to find a material for these geometries. So to assign materials, you can either use the material overrides. You can add them with this button. And then for each material override, you would have to assign a material. So we can say for the body, I want to use the white, hair, I want to use the black, And for the jeans, I want to use the blue, and then I want to use the white shirt, and I want to use the shoes gray. And if I go back to the preview, here nothing shows because I need to select the variation type or an item that lives under the variation type. So if you select nothing, Atoms doesn't know which variation type you want to preview. So again, just remember to select a variation type or an item under the variation type. And this is the result of this variation type. Now, even if I click generate, nothing changes. So this generate button can create a new variation based on this variation type, on the selected variation type. But because all the items, all the materials, sorry, are the same, nothing is getting randomized really. So, but what we could do is, like, for instance, for the jeans, let's add like, so we have the blue there. We want to add the gray, and then we want to add maybe black, this. If I go back to the preview, click generate, you see now the material is changing. So it really depends on what atom is picking up here as a material for this piece of geometry. You can of course change also the distribution. So let's say I want to have more black than the others. So if I say, sorry, I need to select the variation type, and if I now press generate, I will see way more black than the other two, as you can see here. So this is a way in which you can assign materials, but the overrides should really be used whenever you want to have a specific material for a specific geometry under a variation type or an extra geo group, which we're gonna check later what that is. So if you have like built your geometries and materials following a certain naming convention, there's another way which you might be already familiar with if you used the variation builder in the past. So I'm gonna remove all these material overrides. Actually, let me just just leave one so we can see what I mean with what I just said. If I select now the variation type here, we just see the body because Atom was just able to find the material for the body. But we can go under the option tab here, and in this section you are able to define some rules that will let Atoms know how to pick a material starting from the geometry name. So let's say we start from the jeans, okay? So the jeans geometry name is jeans_geo, but the materials for that piece of geometry are called boy_jeans_black_matte. They kind of follow this naming convention. So if I go under the option tab, I can add a prefix. So I can tell Atoms, look, the materials for each geo, they start with boy_, okay? So Atoms will pick this geometry, prepend boy_. So now we have boy_jeans_geo. Then we can say, I want to replace the suffix, so _geo, with something like this. The star means anything. So we can say, basically, I want to find anything that matches boy_jeans_. Now we replace the _geo with this _star_matte. So Atoms will look for anything that is boy_jeans_star_matte, and will find all these materials here. Not just for the jeans, but for all the pieces of geo that don't have a material override. So if I go back to the preview now, we see that magically we have all the geos showing with different materials, and if I click generate, they all change. This is because Atoms is picking a material randomly by following the rules that we just provided. This section here, actually, let's go to the man so I can show you, is used for replacing a certain kind of string, a certain string from the geometry name to another string, you know. So for instance, here we have the suit closed and suit open. Here the geometries we see we have suit closed and suit open. But the materials, if you go and check the man suit, we just see that we have man_suit, so there's no closed or open. And with these aliases, we are just saying replace whenever you pick the geometry name, the suit closed or suit open with suit. And in this way, Atoms will be able to find a new material, so the material with the right name. I would really suggest that you experiment a bit with these kind of rules because they can be very powerful. And yeah, otherwise, if you don't know, if you want a specific material to be applied, like in this case for the body, you see the body here is always white. It's not really following the rules because we have just one material here being assigned to the body with the material overrides. So this is what's happening. I'm gonna remove this one like this, goes to the material override because I don't need it anymore. I'm gonna select the test, and now even the body should change from time to time. Let's see. Actually, let me save it. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So now we have black, tanned, and also we should have the whites from time to time. Another thing that you have down here is you have this random checkbox. You have this seed option, and then you have this verbose and the name of the variation type that is being selected. So if you disable this random and you click generate, you see that the result doesn't really change because we're not randomizing anymore. It will only change if that is unchecked, if you change the seed here. Yeah, I would usually keep it on random because I want really to see different kind of variation that I can get from what I've selected here. If you're unsure about what's going on, you can always enable the verbose option there, and this will print in the material, sorry, in the script editor in Maya, and also in Houdini in the console will print like some logs. So if I press generate here, we see some logs showing us what all the steps that Atoms did for building the variation type that is selected there. So I'm just gonna disable it here. I would suggest that you test out and see the kind of messages that you have here, but they're pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so this is what we've done here. So we've built a static variation type. Now what we would like to do is we would like to, have some more flexibility. Let's say we saw here we have different kind of hair, and we would like really not to have just one kind of hair here in the for this variation type, but we would like to have one type of hair being selected with every time every time we generate this a variation of this variation type. So to do that, we can first of all remove the hair one. If we go back to the preview, we'll see the child, the boy without hair, as you can see. We could do it in two ways. So we can select either, we can select all of them, we can drag and drop them under the body geo. So if I save this one, just a second, go back here. If I now press generate, now we have different kind of geos, but also here because we have none and there's some, the value is not zero, is also creating variations without the hair, which is not something that I would like to have because yeah, just I would like always to have hair for my boy. So this is one way. You can whenever you have like these kind of geometries under another geometry, what Atoms does is that whenever this geometry is being added to the variation, then one child geometry is also going to be added depending on the distribution. If you select this option here, it means that you always want to have that geometry also, and one of the other child geometries which have the lock icon being unlocked also added to the geometry. So in this case, we're gonna have always R1 geo, and then one of the children that have value, the weight higher than 0. So it would be either hair 2 or hair 3. Anyway, in this case, it doesn't make sense because we really just want one hair. So I'm gonna save this one, and if I click generate again, I have different materials and different again depending on the distribution. So now yeah, we have different hair as well. So this is one way in which you can do it, but again, this is not the optimal way to do it. Another thing before I forget, you can also nest geometry. So for instance, we can say if I have the hair I also want to add the jacket, the hair 1, I want to add the jacket. Not all the time, so we can keep none to something. This rule doesn't make a lot of sense, but again, it's just to show you. So sometimes we'll also see the jacket whenever the hair 1 is being picked. Doesn't make a lot of sense because we have the polo here. but we can also exclude these, but I'm gonna show you this one later because again I don't want to mix too many things together. So let me just remove this one. This was just to show you that you can nest geometries. So to add geometries more dynamically, as we were saying before, we could use the extra geo group. So you can either add them at the global level, or if you select a variation type and then you press that button, then it will add the extra geo group under that variation type. If nothing is so if no variation type is selected, it will be added to the global level. Here we can add the geometry, so we can say the hair like this. And now if we go back, actually let me set the none item with weight 0, so we always end up having hair with our character. So when I press generate, we see that again the hair are being randomized. Okay, so again you could use the extra geo either to do a workflow like this one, or even if you want to add props or mix pieces of clothes. Really, again, it's really up to you and how you think this could be useful to your workflow. Then we also have the exclude geo item, so you can either add this to a variation type, or you can even add it to a global level. So let's add it again to the global level here. So let me do preview. If I go to the geometries, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add the hat to this, okay, to the variation type. So if I go now to the preview and I select the variation type, we'll see that the hat fits well some kind of hair, but not others, okay? So it fits well just the hair one. The others we see it's intersecting. So we would like to have the hat being filtered out whenever we pick hair 2 or hair 3. So to do that, we need to create actually 2 geo filters, but let's first start with the first one. So we want to say hair 2 and then the hat. So whenever we pick hair 2, we're gonna filter the hat, and then not there, sorry, here, and I want also to do hair 3 and hat. So in this way we're saying, sorry, it didn't work. Okay, so now it worked. Now we're saying whenever we pick hair 2 or hair 3, don't use the hat. This will work for every variation type that contains the hat. So whenever the hat is being picked with any variation type that you have in your variation tree, then the hat will be removed if these 2 hair are being selected. So if now I go back to the preview and I select the variation type, we should, let's see, whenever we, yeah, you see, as soon as we have one hair that is not hair 1, then that piece of geometry is being excluded. There are multiple ways with the variation tree in which you can achieve the same result, but again, it really depends how you decide to build your tree, and we've just decided to provide all kind of tools that will let you achieve to have a great deal of flexibility whenever you're building these custom variation types. So just as a test, we can even build another one. We can say test 1, and then to the geometries we can say I want again, of course, the body. I want to have the trousers. I want to have the sweater. I want to have the shoes. It could be possibly everything. Yeah. So now we're selecting the test 1. You see here test 1, and here we see the the variation. And then if we select another variation type, then the other variation type is being previewed here. So okay, so this is all for the variation tree. If we want to go to the man just to have a look, here we see we have a bunch of variation types. Each one of them have different kind of items. Here we have the hair as we saw before. Then we have the material constraint that we didn't see before, but let's have a look at here. So with the material constraint, what you say is like whenever a material is being selected, then I want to have for another piece of geometry that is also also going to be included in the variation that is being built, to have this kind of material. So you provide kind of a regular expression for picking a material that kind of matches the same style of your the material for the other for your original material. So basically here what we are saying is like whenever we pick the afro skin, we don't want to have like a blonde hair or whatever. We just want to have the black hair. So this is for the for all hair. Then you can do the same also for the beard, for the beard 1, beard 2. So we have kind of a lot of beards and mustache as well. So you need this for also for all the hair to beard, because again the hair they should match the same color of the beard. So we have hair 1, hair 2, hair 3. It's a lot of them, but again this provides, you build the rules just once and then they actually work for all the variations. So it might look like a lot of work, but it's really not. Here we have some exclusion, so exclude geos, and as I showed you before, here we have the geomat alias, and then we have the same kind of the same settings that we had for the boy. So okay, so now we saw how we can build variation overrides and the variation tree. We can have a look at how we can use these two in within a simulation. See you in the next video.